Today, dawn just beautiful in New York City. Hurricane Irene just a memory. And while millions are without power and thousands are flooded in other parts of the metropolitan area, New York City is open for business on a beautiful sunny day, and baseball is back at Citi Field. At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Florida Marlins in a doubleheader. Mets baseball is presented in HD by IOTV. Get the best in HD free with IOTV. And a pleasant good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. I'm Gary Cohen. Keith Hernandez will join me in just a moment as the Mets return to action with a doubleheader against the Florida Marlins after the last 2 days were baseball-less because of Hurricane Irene, and we hope that you weathered the storm okay. If you're watching, that means you have power, and that's a good thing because so many in our area still do not. The Mets have played us one game in the last 4 days. The same is true of the Florida Marlins. Today will mark the return of Jose Reyes to the lineup after 3 weeks out with his second stint on the disabled list with a hamstring injury. However, Reyes will not be activated until the second game of today's doubleheader. Today marks the first of 8 games in 11 days between the Mets and the Marlins. This is a 5-game series starting with this doubleheader, and it's kind of a reset for both these teams.
Well, it feels like it's an all-star break, a double all-star break. I know all the angst we had and the worry of how big the storm was going to be, and I weathered the storm at home, and I'm without power. I'm one of those people. But now it's back to baseball, and it just feels like you got it in first gear. How the players are going to come out, and both teams are struggling right there. Jack McKee and his ball club's been struggling. The Mets have been struggling. Marlins are mired in last place. The Mets have a 3.5-game lead on them. Doubleheader to start it, a 4 o'clock doubleheader. So it's a time for the players. Are going to have to just turn on the switch and get going again. And
R.A. Dickey will be on the mound for the Mets in the opener today, and Dickey's been pitching wonderfully lately.
Well, he's been such tough luck right now. You know, his last 18 starts, he's only 4-6. But a sterling ERA of 3.11. And his last outing, he went 7 strong, 2 runs, and came up with nothing for it, no decision. So it's been one of those years for him. He's 1-0 this year against the Marlins, looking to improve on that record.
Anibal Sanchez had a pretty good year for Florida, but the Mets kind of beat him up the only time they faced him.
Well, you know, since the All-Star break, this club has kind of gone south. When they lost Hanley Ramirez here in the last home series, that they've gone in the tank. He's 1-4 since the All-Star break with an ERA of over 6. In his road starts, he's also been very, very poor. His last 5 road starts, he's 1-2 with an ERA over 6. So they've been getting into him early in the first inning, and the bullpen's been worn out on this ball club.
So the Mets and Marlins will play 2 today here at Citi Field and get the season ready again. Welcome back. Mets and Marlins first pitch coming up on SNY. Best in HD free with IOTV. By Bud Light, it's a sure sign of a good time. Get the feeling, play Powerball from the New York Lottery. Hey, you never know. By your Tri-State Ford dealers. By North Shore LIJ, hope lives here. And by Audi. Follow the Mets with the MLB.com at Bat 11 app for your iPhone, iPad, Android, or BlackBerry. Check in using at Bat at Citi Field to receive special offers. Text at Bat to 31826 or visit Mets.com for details. There's your Dunkin' Donuts around the majors. David Price, a franchise record 14 strikeouts for the Rays in their 12-0 rout of the Blue Jays. Ian Kennedy goes to 17-4 on the year. The Diamondbacks won their 6th in a row as they beat the Padres 6-1. They now lead the Giants by 4 games in the West. And the Rangers scored 4 in the 7th. Josh Hamilton had the big hit. They beat the Angels 9-5, opened up a 3-game lead in the American League West. R.A. Dickey taking the field, getting ready to get this doubleheader started. The first post-Irene game at Citi Field. First pitch coming right up. On the mound and ready to go. Emilio Bonifacio leads off for the Marlins, and the first pitch of the long day of baseball is a fastball in for a call strike, and we're underway. Here's the Marlins starting lineup. Hanley Ramirez still on the disabled list with a shoulder injury, might be back by the end of this series. So Bonifacio playing shortstop, and he grounds one to right, playing it on the grass. Bonifacio retired for the first out of the day. So 1 out and nobody on.
And we talked about R.A. in the open and the hard luck pitcher that he has been this year. And you see the strikeouts. A little more hits than innings pitched. Mets starters have given up a lot of hits in the course of the season. The walks excellent and pretty equal as far as lefty righties for R.A. His 5-11 record is not indicative of how he's pitched.
Here's Omar Infante, the former Brave, who just got back from the disabled list last week from a broken finger. He had been red hot when he went out. He takes a first pitch fastball for a strike. So Dickey throwing a first pitch fastball to each of the first 2 hitters. Infante has great career numbers against Dickey, 9 hits and 16 at bats, and he's been a huge pain in the Mets side the last couple of years. And he hits one up the middle for yet another base hit. So Infante now 10 for 17 against Dickey, and the Marlins have the first base runner of the day.
Well, it is such a beautiful day here in New York. And here's a story right here. This man just called up recently that was sent down by the Marlins. Gare, disciplinary actions?
Well, they didn't put it that way. They said when Logan Morrison was sent down and he was having, if not a great season, certainly a good one, they said he needed to learn all the things necessary to be a major leaguer. And in that cryptic fashion, he was sent to the minor leagues for a couple of weeks. Just brought back on Wednesday. He went only 4 for 24 when he was down there, so clearly he didn't perform well enough that you would have thought he'd be recalled. So clearly it was a message being sent to a young player.
That shot we had right there, Jack McKeon, the manager of this ball club. Jack does not really care if players like him or not, and he's old school. I know they were angry with Logan for tweeting, and you haven't been in the big leagues 2 full seasons. You keep your mouth shut. I know it's a different world, and but get out there and prove yourself. Concentrate on the game, and I think that was the message to Logan.
Well, the incident that seemed to push the button that led to Morrison being sent down was him missing a team autograph signing function as he goes down swinging, and the acknowledged clubhouse leader for the Marlins, Wes Helms, advised him to miss it, and Helms was released the same day that Morrison was sent to the minor leagues. So they made it look like that was the final straw, as it were.
Well, it sounds like a little bit of house cleaning, does it not? A last place ball club.
Here's Mike Stanton, who's been a very positive story for the Marlins this year. 30 home runs, tied for 3rd in the National League, just 1 behind the league leaders, and he takes a knuckleball for a strike.
Well, ever since Hanley Ramirez has been out, you see the 30 bombs. That's a big, strong man. They stopped pitching to him, and Hanley has not played now in close to 3 weeks.
Hanley got hurt the last game that the Marlins played here in New York. That was back on August the 2nd. At the time, after that game, Florida was at 500. They were 55 and 55. Since they left, without Ramirez, 4 and 17.
And Hanley has just started to do some rehab down in A-ball. And you wonder why they're not pitching to Stanton in the Met killer, Gabby Sanchez at first base, and we'll get back to Gabby after we can do the Lexus Mets defense. And you see Tejada at shortstop has been playing very fine. With 7 errors, you'd like to see less than that. He's working on that backhand when he goes to his right. A little uncomfortable with that, but all in all, he's done a heck of a job filling in for Jose Reyes.
And he's going to get some time at second base when Reyes returns. That'll be later today.
But I'm sorry, Gary, getting back to my point with Stanton is that Gabby Sanchez has been hitting since the All-Star break around 180, and that is just a mystery. So he's a Met killer.
Well, he's got 8 games in the next 11 days to get healthy. 2-2 to Stanton, who was 0 for 5 against Dickey. He's hit 4 home runs against the Mets this year, and they've all been very impressive. Greg Dobbs playing third base and hitting 5th in the order, waiting on deck.
Well, that's trying to get a left-handed bat in the lineup. That's going to hurt them defensively with Dobbs at third.
And a very slow knuckleball is foul back, 61 miles an hour from Dickey. R.A. has had 6 consecutive quality starts, and in that 6-start span, he's won exactly once. His last start was typical. He left a 2-2 game for a pinch hitter in the bottom of the 7th. Mets didn't score for him, and then the bullpen gave it up out of a no decision for Dickey. And he goes full on Stanton, 3-2. So, Dickey's 5-11 on the year, but that's certainly not reflective of the way he's pitched. Got off to something of a slow start this year, but really since the beginning of June has been good just about every time out.
Well, the last series here, you recall the home run he hit, Gary, a line drive into the left center field seats.
And Stanton strikes out on the knuckleball. Foul tip held by Tolley. Back-to-back strikeouts for Dickey to get him through the opening inning. We go to the bottom of the first. Mets come to bat with no score. He's been red hot. Nick Evans has been swinging the bat extremely well, so he stays in there at first base. Jason Bay back in the lineup after missing Friday's game with a bit of a shoulder tweak. Anibal Sanchez on the mound for the Marlins.
Well, Sanchez got off to a really fast start this year. 6-1. Well, you can see with his record now. Since that 6-1 start, he has gone 1-5.
Pops a fastball to McGowan, 1-1. Angel coming off a 3-hit game Friday night against the Braves. The Mets have won their last 2. Of course, they've only played once in the last 4 days. They had an off day Thursday, played the game Friday night, then had Saturday and Sunday's games postponed. McGowan lifts one out to right. Stanton in the sun field, shading his eyes. Sunglasses firmly on top of the cap. 1 out. That confuses me, Keith. I'm sorry.
Well, it does. Why even go out there with it? Doesn't do any good there. You don't look for your hat. The Coors Light Marlin defense. Well, they wanted to improve their defense this year, Gare, going into the season, and their bullpen. It's there, but they just have not got the pitching. The starting pitching has been a disappointment to this team. And with Ramirez out, they just gone in the tank.
Tejada hits a slow grounder. Omar Infante makes the play, and quickly there are 2 out.
Well, they're a nice color.
I mean, he's out there shading his eyes with his glove. So clearly the sun was giving him a problem. And even after that, he doesn't put the sunglasses on. That's confusing.
Well, the other outfielders have him on, and he is in the biggest sun field. Go figure. There's another one there. Bonifacio at short.
Here's David Wright with 2 out and nobody on. David has had good career numbers against Anibal Sanchez. 8 for 22 with a couple of home runs. Sanchez facing the Mets for just the 2nd time this year. The Mets hit him around a little bit in Florida. Got 4 runs and 11 hits against him in a 7-inning stint. Might have been no decision for Sanchez.
I just don't think that Sanchez, what's I think preventing him from really bursting on, having a breakout, becoming a really star pitcher. I just think he doesn't throw quite hard enough. I know the gun's saying 93 up there. You know how I feel about that gun. But what I see, if he just had a little extra on his fastball to go with that breaking ball.
And David Wright has the Mets' first base hit of the afternoon. A 2-out single.
Well, good way to start it for David. And Duda, who's been red hot, steps up.
Lucas riding a 6-game hitting streak, and he's driven in 9 runs in those 6 games.
And, it's hard to say. You're saying right now, Duda's been red hot. It's a 6-game hitting streak. Well, it's been a season interrupted. You haven't played 1 game in 4 days. You just don't know how you're going to come back from that kind of delay, even though the team's worked out indoors.
So you got 2 teams in the same boat. Both teams were off on Thursday, played on Friday. The Marlins were in Philadelphia, and the Phillies initially planned to play a day-night doubleheader Saturday. How they intended to do that, I don't know, but that of course got washed out. So, like the Mets, the Marlins have been cooling their heels for a couple of days, waiting to get back to the game. Right at first, 10 steals on the year for David, and a good changeup by Sanchez. Nothing in 2 to Duda.
Well, that's Sanchez's big pitch, his change. Left-hand batters hitting lower than right-hand batters. He gives up fewer home runs to left-hand hitters.
See if Red runs on 0-2. Not going, and Duda slaps one the other way for a base hit. Nicely done by Lucas Duda with 2 strikes, and the Mets have 2 men on.
Well, Duda continues. 7-game hitting streak now. Nice 2-strike hitting on a fastball low and away, and didn't try to do anything with this. Just hit it where it was pitched. 2 strikes. That's knee-high outside corner. That is outstanding.
So back-to-back 2-out hits for Wright and Duda. Now Jason Bay. Jason sat out Friday night's game, was a late scratch because of a jammed shoulder, but with a couple more days to rest it, back in the lineup today. However, his bat has been jammed. 2 for his last 38. Bats here with 2 out and 2 on. and Jason swings and misses.
You got to assume your first ball fastball hitting. And for him to swing at a breaking ball just kind of tells me that he's not seeing the ball in the pitcher's hand.
Just 183 this year with runners in scoring position. Interesting that Jason is not wearing sunglasses today, and he lines one right to the second baseman Infante. Normally you see Bay wearing sunglasses while batting in day games. Not there, hit it hard, but right to Infante, and the Mets leave 2. Blue today. Quite a contrast with what it was 24 to 36 hours ago.
I actually had power through the night and woke up in the morning here around 8 o'clock, was watching TV, getting caught up, and all of a sudden 9:15 a.m. there it went. The power went down. When did you lose your power?
About 2:30 Sunday morning, and they say we'll have it back in about a week. Greg Dobbs swings and misses at a change. My entire town has no power, and the 3 towns around it have no power.
Sag Harbor, there's spots that have power, but most of the area that in Sag Harbor is down. I went to the American Hotel today, and their power's out.
Good slow change by Dickey, and it's 0-2.
The Maynard E. Thomas there had coffee for us because they were able to heat it on. They had the propane tanks and doing the gas tanks, the gas ovens, I should say, and grills. But everything else in town, forget it.
It's hard to find a generator anywhere these days.
Well,
they're all sold out.
All the trees, Noyak Road, which is one of the back roads through there, the main road into Sag Harbor from my house. A lot of trees were down on power lines.
Foul tip for strike 3, so that's 3 consecutive strikeouts for R.A. Dickey as he gets Greg Dobbs for the first out of the second. Well, as bad as it is that we don't have power in our houses, I feel for the folks, especially in Jersey and up in Vermont, where they have terrible flooding problems.
It seems like the inland was where the storm did its most damage.
Gabby Sanchez takes one low. Sanchez, as Keith mentioned, has really been struggling. Last 26 games hitting 170. Mets are used to seeing him raking. And he takes a fastball for a strike, and it's 1-1.
It's kind of hard to conceive Gabby Sanchez hitting on the interstate since the All-Star break. He's always kills us. I shouldn't say us, the Mets. Forgive me, I haven't had a game in 1 game in 4 days too.
Well, you need to get your power back on. Mike Cameron waiting on deck. Dickey struck out the last 3. make it the last 4. Sanchez down looking, and Dickey's on a roll.
Good late break right here. Watch the front shoulder. The fanny flew out, and that was it.
Dickey had a magnificent knuckleball in his last start against Milwaukee, and he's come to the party with one today. Here's Mike Cameron. Those are his Marlins numbers that you see there. His season numbers are even worse. He's hitting just 180 for the year after beginning the season with Boston. But he's been playing just about every day in center field. And he hits it hard, and he's got the Marlins' second hit of the day. So Mike Cameron, the former Met, on board with 2 out here in the second. And now John Buck will be the batter. Now in the Marlins' most recent game on Friday night against the Phils, Buck hit a grand slam. His second grand slam of the year.
Since the first series of the year, opening day against Mike Pelfrey.
That was the way the season began for the Mets and the Marlins on the 1st of April back down in Florida. This, by the way, this is the Marlins' 4th trip to New York this year. They were scheduled early in the year for a 2-game series, and one of those games got rained out. They came back later to make up that 1 game. Then they came in early August for what was supposed to be a 3-game series, and one of those games got rained out, which is why we're playing a doubleheader today. What all of the trips have in common so far is that the Marlins have won every game. They're 4-0 at Citi Field this year.
And the Mets in Florida have not had one rainout, and you would think with the weather down there they would.
Well, next week the Mets will pay their final visit to what is currently known as Sun Life Stadium, and then Marlins next year will move into a new building and get a new name.
And the building will have a retractable roof, and there'll no longer be any rain delays or postponements. And it'll be a wonderful thing.
Now they're changing their name from the Florida Marlins to the Miami Marlins. So the question is, will we have to set up a series of fines next year the way we did when the Mets moved from Shea to Citi Field?
Why not? We can go to, yeah, we can do that.
I mean, you know, Mets and Marlins play 18 or 19 times a year. That's a call, strike 3 and 2, as Buck was on its way to first base. So, you know, there's every ample opportunity next year for us to call the Marlins by their state rather than their city. Buck with 16 home runs on the year. Cameron gets set to run. 3-2 from Dickey, and a bouncing ball, and Dickey, who feels his position so well, makes the play to end the inning. A hit and 1 left. Second inning, no score.
is the fortnight when Flushing Meadows is the sports mecca. You've got your Mets playing here. You've got your U.S. Open across the street.
Nick Evans hits one in the hole. Diving stop by Bonifacio. Up and throwing, and Sanchez came off the bag, and Evans is safe. Outstanding effort by Bonifacio, and if Sanchez had been able to stay on the bag, they probably would have had Evans.
Well, nice play by Bonifacio. The throw to first, strong, but did take him off the base and hustling Evans, and I do think he would have thrown him out, Garrett, but you got to give him a base hit here.
And it is a base hit. 7 hits in his last 10 at bats now for Nick Evans.
Well, it all started with Nick when after he took that bases loaded of 3 straight fastballs in Philly. And was it in Philly?
Yeah, that first game in Philly. Then the second game in the first inning, he hit the 3-run home.
Right, and he started swinging the bat. Someone told him to get aggressive, and he's had results since he's swung the bat.
Josh Thole hitting at .263, so the Mets have their 3rd hit against Sanchez. Thole starting the first game of the doubleheader. Now, the Mets are carrying 3 catchers right now. Ronnie Polino has a broken toe. That's been confirmed now. The right big toe. He can hit with it, but he can't really squat. So the Mets have Mike Nicky is here as well. Now the Mets are going to have to make a roster move between games of the doubleheader today to activate Jose Reyes. And the best guess is that they'll probably put Polino on the disabled list. They might decide to go a different route, but it would seem like the logical move rather than continue to carry 3 catchers, one of whom can't catch right now. So we'll wait and see. 2-0 the count to Thole. Of course, any roster move right now is fairly temporary because September 1st is Thursday, and then the rosters expand, and you can carry as many 40 players on your active roster. The Mets also have a pitching dilemma this week that they've sort of solved because of the injury to John Neese and because of the doubleheader. They're a little squeezed. Now they called up 40-year-old Miguel Batista, and the likelihood is that Batista is going to start a game this week. Right now he's kind of penciled in for Thursday, but they might move him up to Wednesday to give Chris Capuano an extra day of rest. And then they'll need another starter Friday, and it looks like what Terry Collins has decided to do is to bring back R.A. Dickey on 3 days rest on Friday. There's Batista, the noted poet and author and pitcher for 9 different big league teams.
Hero of the World Series for those Arizona Diamondbacks. Remember, they had Randy Johnson and
Kurt Schilling.
Schilling was their 1-2 punch, and it wasn't for Batista, rising to the occasion. They were in trouble, and they beat the Yankees that series.
Well, Johnson and Schilling shared MVP honors, and they both pitched in that climactic Game 7, but they never would have gotten there without Batista.
Nope. He was the unsung hero, and actually I don't think he was unsung. He was right there front stage and center.
He was sung.
Ah, cirrus clouds, aren't they? Are they not?
They are indeed. I heard that from Bob Murphy. Oh, Murph was a weatherman in the Marines. Flew on missions doing meteorology, so he was big into clouds.
I suspect if you're a meteorologist, you would be big on clouds.
There goes the runner, and Thole fouls it back. Evans running on the 3-2 count, which is showing a lot of faith in Tole's ability to make contact, as Evans is not blessed with any speed at all.
And I would agree. Josh doesn't strike out a lot. He's a contact hitter.
Sanchez, though, is a strikeout pitcher. He's 5th in the National League in strikeouts starting the day. 163 strikeouts in only 159 innings. 9.2 strikeouts per 9. Evans is running again, and Thole fouls it off again. In fact, Sanchez averaging over 9 strikeouts and less than 3 walks per 9 innings. There are only 5 other pitchers in the majors who've that combination, and they've all been a little more heralded than Sanchez. We've got Zach Greinke, Clayton Kershaw, Cliff Lee, Justin Verlander, and Michael Pineda. This will be the 8th pitch of the at-bat to Tolley. And Evans runs again, and Tolley takes ball 4, and the Mets have 2 men on. So Sanchez issues his first walk, and the Mets have first and second and nobody out. And Justin Turner coming up. Turner just 6 hits in his last 45 at bats. Batting average down to 255. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens over the final 30+ games of the season. Now with Reyes returning, you've got Tejada playing very well and Turner not playing quite so well. And Terry Collins said before the game today that he's contemplating something of an even split between those two guys at second base, and that he might try and sneak Turner a game or two at third, with Wright getting some time off, and Reyes will get some days off, and Tejada will play some short. But it's a precursor to what next year is going to be a pretty widespread battle at second base.
Well, there's all kinds of ways that you can juggle the lineup around and move players around to get them more time. I would have told you 3 weeks ago that Turner would have got the lion's share of the playing time, but the way Tejada's played and the way he's hit, and he's young, the youngster, you don't want to take him out of the lineup. He could be building his confidence. You know, it could be a, oh boy.
Turner loses the bat, but sails into the seats and hits an empty seat. I guess the question with that, Keith, is that you got 2 young players. You got, Turner as a rookie, and Tejada, who has, minimal big league time and is only 21 years old. Is there a certain way of utilizing both of them so that they can both get the benefit going down the stretch of the season?
Would you consider playing David Wright at first base just as an experiment? The team's going nowhere. Would you put Wright over there to give Tejada or Turner more playing time?
It's a very interesting question.
It is an interesting question. David's an athlete. That's something you can consider.
Would that be a difficult thing for him to do in the middle of a season?
For David?
Yeah.
I don't think at this point in David's career it's not going to affect his hitting. The team is out of it. He can go over there and relax and have fun with it. Work on it. It's just as an experiment. You never know. You don't know the physical status of Davis next year.
Toward the hole, past Dobbs and into left field, a base hit. Here comes Evans around third. He'll come home without a throw. Justin Turner with an RBI single, and the Mets break in front 1-0. Well, Keith talked about Dobbs and the defense at third, just unable to reach that ball.
Well, Dobbs, that's a great angle right here. To see the late break, Dobbs did not get a good break on that ball to his left. There's a hesitation. You see, he came down on his toes too after contact. You want to come on your toes, ready to go left or right, in or back, be right before contact.
Well, before Hanley Ramirez got hurt, they had Bonifacio playing at third, and he obviously is going to cover a lot more ground than Dobbs. Now Dickey up there to bunt. RA has 8 hits and 7 sacrifices this year. Up and in, 1-0. Dickey's been swinging the bat much better lately, which leads you to wonder whether maybe they'd let him swing away in this spot.
I think it's a bunt here. Get the runners to second and third with 1 out, top of the order. And Dickey's pretty much making it pretty apparent.
Marlins are playing straight up with their defense. And Sanchez having trouble throwing strikes. Well, Jack McKeon's team got a big boost when he took over as manager, but they have hit the skids in August. Just 4-17 over their last 21 games. And it's been everything. Starting pitching has really struggled. Dickey has to bail out.
Boy, you see Sanchez's reaction after that pitch. He's mad at himself. He's woofing at himself. He's so angry. Got a guy giving himself up, and you can't throw a strike.
Well, so now Dickey's going to take one. And that's a strike.
Yeah, let's see if you have a. If you're going to do something, Gary, you can be footloose and fancy free like you can when you're playing the season out. You could put maybe a swing on here. 3-1. I doubt it, but it wouldn't be a bad play. Look at that, the defensive positioning of Infante way over.
And Dickey drops the bunt down. Buck can't go to third because nobody's covering there, and so has to go to first with it. Had Dobbs backed up and covered third, they would have had an easy force on Tolle.
Well, 2 spotlight plays for Dobbs in this inning. And there's a bunt that clearly he can't field. Now, does he charge? He's not even charging. And the bunt's right in front and doesn't even attempt to go back.
So the Mets taking advantage. And now runners at second and third.
Well, you're batting. You got the bat in front of home and level to the ground and let the ball come to you. Don't stab at it.
Infield back with second and third and 1 out, and Pagan pulls one down the right field side, but foul. Angel hooking that changeup, flat out to right his first time up. It's been a struggle for Sanchez. Gave him a couple of hits and then a hard out to end the first. An infield hit, a walk, a run-scoring single by Turner, and the bunt by Dickey, giving the Mets a chance for more than 1 run here in the second. Dobbs is in. Everybody else on the infield is back. And it's ball and a strike to Pagan. Pagan hitting .320 this year with runners in scoring position.
Pretty much straight away, real shallow and right field is Stanton. Boy, wow,
that's extraordinary with Pagan batting left-handed. Pagan with 7 home runs this year. They've all been hit as a left-hand batter, and he's got significant pop. And you know, Stanton's not a great outfielder. Not like he goes back on balls particularly well.
That to me is asking for trouble.
He's got a good arm. Maybe just trying to give himself a chance to throw somebody out at the plate. And a good stop by Buck. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Pagan.
Well, Sanchez right now cannot get his breaking ball over.
And a slog of an inning for Anibal Sanchez. He's already thrown 23 pitches in this inning. A 27-year-old right-hander who threw a no-hitter early in his career. 2-2, and Pagan bounces it down to first. Sanchez coming home with it, and the tag on Tolle for the second out. So Sanchez playing back, but had enough time to gun down Tolle.
Well, nice play by Sanchez, and throwing on the run too. You can do that. And Tolle out by a mile. Contact play. It's all reaction by Sanchez there. Tolle's going to break off the bat, and Sanchez just came right in. That's what you got to do. You got to charge that ball.
So now 2 out of the inning, and it's left to Ruben Tejada, who bounced out to second base his first time up. You got Pagan at first base and Turner at third. We'll see if Pagan tries to swipe one here. 27 steals on the year for Angel. And Tejada takes a strike. Turner at third. He drove in the run. Pagan at first with 2 down. Pick off toss from one Sanchez to another. No relation.
I think, Gare, in terms of playing Turner and Tejada, getting them playing time, it wouldn't matter. You'd want them to play no matter who's pitching. You wouldn't care. You go give Tejada a break because we feel this guy might have the stuff with his swing that might overpower him. At this stage, these two guys got to play.
Well, I think also, you'd look at it differently if you had a staff that had pronounced ground ball pitchers, because Tejada is probably the better defensive player than Turner.
By the one token, you don't want to sit, like I said earlier, a red hot Tejada. But on the other side of the coin, you've got Turner. You don't want to give Turner a sour taste in his mouth with a bad finish. Give him an opportunity to break out of his slump and finish with a strong September. And you can't do that on the bench.
So you're Cholula, who's hot there, and Tejada has been hitting .455 over his last 10 games. There goes Pagan, and Tejada hits one to the shortstop, and Bonifacio snags it to end the inning. So Tejada lines out to end the second, but the Mets cash a run against Anibal Sanchez. With two aboard, Justin Turner sneaking one through the left side. His 46th RBI gives the Mets a 1-0 lead. Approach here at Citi Field, opening game of the doubleheader. The Mets have taken a 1-0 lead. The pitcher Anibal Sanchez will lead off against R.A. Dickey. Sanchez having a better offensive year than he's ever had before. 7 hits already this season. You see his career average under 100. That's off the interstate. And Dickey starts him off with a fastball. That's at least the third hitter, maybe the fourth, that Dickey has thrown a first pitch fastball to today. And another one.
He's going to throw another fastball here.
There's a strike, 2-1. Emilio Bonifacio on deck, then Omar Infante for the Marlins in the third. Two and two now to Sanchez. The Marlins experience and the Mets experience has been eerily similar during the last month. Marlins had a pretty good hot streak that carried them along in July. And as Dickey pounces on that little number and throws out Sanchez one away. Kids go free to Citi Field with the purchase of a regularly priced ticket. Up to 3 children 12 and under will get free admission to games this week. Get to Mets.com/kidsfree for tickets and details. There's Emilio Bonifacio. So the Marlins, who had the horrible month of June and then fired their manager Edwin Rodriguez, sailed through July. It looked like they were really coming to life under Jack McKeon, and as we mentioned, they were at 500 when they left New York on the 2nd of August. But in that last game here, they got their shortstop hurt, and Lou Ramirez went down, and they have been struggling ever since. After the Marlins left town, the Mets played the Braves, lost 2 out of 3 in that series, lost Jose Reyes and Daniel Murphy in the last game of that series, and went straight downhill after that. So it's almost like they've been mirror images through this month. Both teams have struggled with their starting pitching. Both teams have struggled with their bullpens. Both teams have struggled to score enough runs. But I guess you said this before, Keith, a lot of times August, not September, is the determining month, especially for teams that are kind of hanging on the fringes.
Made the '84 Mets, when we came out of the darkness and surprised the National League, we fell apart in August. That's when you're if you're making a run and you're in, there's ball 4 to Bonifacio, someone you don't want to walk. And under Jack McKeon has become quite the base stealer as Jack has set him loose. You start getting into August and you're overachieving and you go, geez, and you start, it's hot. It usually separates the men from the boys.
And what is that? Is that just, regression toward the mean? Is that, guys feeling the heat of the reality of a pennant race? What is that?
There's an old saying that it's not a baseball saying.
Bonifacio just back.
We always say water seeks its level and the cream comes to the top. Well, that's usually what happens. And did he almost got him?
Bonifacio, 31 steals, has been caught 8 times, 6th in the National League in stolen bases. And another first pitch fastball from Dickey to Infante, who has fairly owned Dickey, now 10 for 17 against him. You see the difference having a new manager has made Bonifacio. He had the reins on him under Edwin Rodriguez. Not so anymore.
Well, one thing about Dickey, he's got, for a knuckleball pitcher, he's got a good snap move to first, and he's quick home.
And he's throwing a lot of fastballs early in this game. I try rolling it up there to get Infante out. And there's a knuckleball for a strike. So you guys went 15 and 17 in the month of August in 1984. And then in September played better because the pressure was off?
We just couldn't beat the Cubs head up. The Cubs whipped us, and that was it.
And that one just about got him. But Bonifacio is safe. Mike Estabrook, the first base umpire, looked like he was about to put his right arm up and then signaled safe.
We had that big series in '84 against the Cubs at Shea, and I think they swept us, did they not, Gary?
There goes Bonifacio. The throw by Tolley is on the money, and he got him. Great pickup and tag by Turner, and Bonifacio is out. And Turner did quite a job here.
That's an in-between hop, too. Yeah, no, it's a short hop. Oh, boy, he did get him. Got in front of the bag. Got him on the helmet. He's out.
And, Tolley did not get rid of that ball particularly quickly, and yet they still threw him out.
Well, Dickey holds him on very well, and it's quick home. No wasted motion coming home.
So 2 out and nobody on. 3-1 now to Infante. And he takes another fastball for a strike.
This is a lot of fastballs early from Dickey.
Logan Morrison hitting 3rd in the order, waiting on deck. 3-2 to Infante. Another fastball lined and caught by Wright. inning over. So Dickey relying quite heavily on his fastball today, has 3 scoreless innings under his belt. To 1 run in a difficult second inning. Now face the heart of the Mets order in the third. David Wright, Lucas Duda, and Jason Bay due up. Wright had a base hit up the middle on a changeup his first time up. That's 4 hits over the first 2 innings against Sanchez. And a fastball on the inside edge, 0-1. I wonder whether, going back to what you were talking about earlier, anybody's ever approached David about the idea of playing some first base. I just remember the intense scrutiny and controversy when the Mets moved Mike Piazza to first base back in 2003, and all the angst that caused.
Mike was clearly uncomfortable, and you've got a guy. I always said Mike was used to being behind the plate and in anticipation of a pitch, knowing what was coming.
Strike 3 called, and Wright is down looking. First strikeout for Sanchez.
And then he had to get out in the field, and he's never was in a position ever to read a ball off of a bat. And I really felt it had a profound effect on him in a very negative way.
Well, we saw the same thing when the Mets moved Todd Hundley to left field. He was so incredibly uncomfortable out there. And I guess it has to be different for a catcher just because you're not used to the ball being hit at you.
Exactly. And with David as an infielder, it's the same ground balls. You're just getting over on the other side of the infield, the other corner. The thing for him would be the footwork around the bag. Yeah. That's all.
There's so many other responsibilities as a first baseman.
But I don't think they would have the scrutiny at this stage of the season this year. It would be a grand experiment, and it would be approached as an opportunity to get other guys to play. And hey, let's have a look and see. And it wouldn't be that under a microscope. At least I don't feel it would.
Oh, come on.
Of course they would. Yes, it gave him something to write about. Absolutely. It would be a nice story.
And it's David Wright. We're not talking about some
and it would be fun. It would be nice for us to be able to look and scrutinize it.
Might not be so much fun for David.
But not,
I don't know.
But not under such a harsh and critical eye.
It's an interesting idea anyway. 2-2 to Duda, who singled to left his first time up, and he hits one out to right center. Stanton started back, now coming in, and it drops. And he overruns it, but backed up nicely by Cameron to hold Duda at first. Well, that was butchered by Mike Stanton.
Where's his glasses?
On his head.
Yep. He definitely broke back. I'm not going to say entirely that would have been maybe he had his glasses on, it would have been an easier read for him. But he's the one player, if you look at the shadow behind him, and they're long shadows here, the sun's clearly in his face.
Yeah, right field is the sun field in this ballpark. Here's Jason Bay, who lined out to second base his first trip. By the way, it's worth noting while we're having this conversation about David Wright, and something that we've kind of started talking about out of the blue, that Keith did play 7 games in the outfield in his career.
I did, and then I didn't make an error.
Did you have any balls hit to you?
Yes, I did. I robbed Busch Stadium. I was playing left field. I forget why I was in left then. I robbed Gary Carter of a base hit, line drive in the gap. Came over nicely, like an old pro.
And how many times did you remind him of that when you were teammates?
You know what I found interesting was I realized when I went out there on AstroTurf, a lot of AstroTurf fields, I was in Cincinnati playing right field because George Hendrick was out a couple days with a minor injury. They didn't want to DL George. So I played right field a couple games, and it was a runner on first, base hit to right field to me on the ground, and I came in with cleats on the turf at Riverfront, old Riverfront Stadium. And I made a heck of a throw to third base because I had a good arm. It was just a little 5 foot left of the base, and that's what was the difference. But I almost blew my knee out because I came in and my spikes, they don't move.
Right.
So I was kind of my angle was a little cockeyed. My front foot was ball 4, was not pointing directly towards third. So I had to kind of throw across my body. I mean, I said my foot out. If you were third base, my front foot would be here throwing. My foot wound up here, and my spike got caught. So I had to throw like this, and then I couldn't. And I almost twisted my knee. It scared the heck out of me. And I almost went in and tried to get some rubber cleats to go out there, the rubber nub cleats, just so I wouldn't have that problem on turf.
Didn't anybody tell you that you shouldn't wear spikes in the outfield on AstroTurf?
No, they didn't tell me. I had fun, though. I loved it out there. I was great. I was bored at first base. It was great.
Now, I mean, did you practice in the outfield before you actually played out there? Did you know that you were going to?
Yes. Whitey asked me, but Anibal just struggling with everything. Can't get his curve over. They told me, Whitey asked me, would you mind going to the outfield? Play a couple games out in right field because George was a bruise or something. Couldn't swing the bat. And I leaped at the opportunity. So, yeah, I went out there and took some fly balls, but not enough.
Nick Evans batting with 2 men on, and he takes a strike. Well, here are the numbers. Keith in his career had, at first base, had 19,706 chances. In the outfield, 7. And you caught them all.
I know, just like Jesse Orozco and Roger that day.
Did you ever go out just routinely during batting practice and shag fly balls?
On days when I was playing first?
Yeah.
No, because I had to work. I had to take ground balls, and then I also had to take throws from my infielders. So my time was distributed amongst my infielders when I wasn't hitting. No opportunity to go out in the outfield.
Evans fouls one back, 2-2. Now, being a left-hand thrower, it limits the number of positions that you can play.
Precisely. My dad always told me, because I was so quick, he said, he told me if you had been right-handed, I would have made you a shortstop. And that would have been a good choice. The easiest way to the big leagues was shortstop catcher.
Right.
Back in my day, and I had a good arm, and I'm left-handed.
But you played first. You played a few games in the outfield. The only other available position for a lefty is Evans. Check swings one. It gets by Sanchez, and everybody's safe. Well, Nick Evans is as hot as you can be right now, and that is the hit of a hot player.
Well, 2 of them in this inning, red hot hitters. Duda also on the misplayed ball by Stanton in right field gets a base hit, and you couldn't place this ball better if you bunted it.
Well, Sanchez unable to get to it. That's 8 hits in his last 11 at bats for Nick Evans. But my question was going to be, as Tolley comes up with the bases loaded, did you ever ask to pitch? Because that's the only other available position.
I was a little fearful of that. I wasn't going to offer that.
I mean, you pitched in high school, right?
Little league, of course.
Not in high school.
It was a strikeout kid. You should have seen me. Threw bullets.
I bet you did. Due to third, Bay at second, and Evans at first with one out.
Big old sweeping hook. Once in a while. My dad wouldn't let me throw curves.
Tolley bounces one to the right side. Sanchez goes to second with it. Bonifacio back to first. And Anibal Sanchez was off the bag, and that allows a run to score. And looks like Tolley's a little shaken up after he collided with Sanchez. Jack McKeon's going to waddle out and argue the call. The Mets get a run and lead it 2-0, but concern for Tolley after he made contact with Anibal Sanchez at first base.
Well, that's Sanchez's fault right there. Let's see if he touched the bag. He could have gotten killed. This is a routine double play. Throws right on target. Oh, he could have got killed.
That's really poor fielding by Anibal Sanchez.
Oh, he got back in time, all right.
Yeah, he might have, but still, he's in a bad place right there for himself and for Tolley.
Yep.
It's like Josh is going to be okay. Meanwhile, McKeon continues to argue his case. That's the crew chief, Fielding Colbreth, who's come over from third to take up the argument. Mike Estabrook made the initial call at first base. He's standing behind Colbreth.
It's like big brother helping him. Helping little brother right there.
So it goes to fielder's choice. There's no error on the play as Duda comes home to score. An RBI for Tolley, who winds up getting spun to the ground with Anibal Sanchez getting his leg in the wrong spot. But it did look on the last replay we showed as though Sanchez touched the bag before Tolley.
Jack, hot. He's not going away.
What I don't understand is what's his beef with Colbreth? I mean, is he asking for Colbreth to overrule the first base umpire?
Colbreth came in and was protecting his umpire, I'm assuming, and
this is a very young crew, by the way. Colbreth is the only umpire of the quartet with any experience at all.
Okay, he doesn't have his foot there. He's searching for the bag and has to follow the ball. Boy,
Tolley might have beaten it. That's bang bang, but I think Tolley got there first.
Yeah, I think you're right. So, boy, I'll tell you what, Jack is not giving up.
How has he not been thrown out of this game at this point? There's your umpiring crew. As we mentioned, Colbreth, the only one with any experience at all. Now, this is Gary Cederstrom's crew, and I assume Cederstrom will umpire in the second game. In these double headers these days, the umpires who umpire behind the plate get the other game off. So Adrian Johnson is the extra umpire added to this crew. Anyway, a run is in here in the third. It's 2-0 New York, and now Justin Turner, who drove in the first run, comes to bat. Tolley, meanwhile, appears to be all right after getting shaken up on that collision at first base.
All this would never have happened if Sanchez gets to the bag properly.
What I don't understand is how did his foot wind up in foul territory? I mean, that's so far from where he was aiming for.
He miscalculated, looking, and all of a sudden the ball's in flight, and then you can't look for that bag when that ball's in flight.
He used the wrong road map. Needs a better GPS. 2-0 to Turner with Dickey waiting on deck.
Cannot get his breaking ball over. You can just eliminate it or hope. He's missed blowing away badly against the right-handers. And Hope is a hitter that he tries to make the adjustment to get it for a strike, and he overcompensates and then starts getting it up and over the middle.
The only one he got over was that strike three to David Wright to begin this inning. And is that the downside of eliminating a pitcher's pitch, that sometimes you can spin on it and you wind up getting caught?
That's the tactical part of the game with each at bat, and you just got to pay attention if you're a hitter on the bench and watch, and you can see the pitch count. Awful. And he got out of that first inning too. He left 2 guys on base in the first, so he's been in trouble all 3 innings.
Now it's 2-2 to Turner with runners at the corners and 2 down, and now a full count.
Here's wants to throw a breaking ball instead of a fastball. He's going to try to throw it for a strike and hang it. A get me over curve.
Tolley at first base will be running.
He wants a slider.
3-2 to Turner, and he gets it up high, ball 4, so he can't throw that slider for a strike, and yet he throws it on 3-2. Second walk of the inning and the third of the night. Randy St. Clair, the pitching coach, will come out to talk to Sanchez.
And we got a second reaction from Sanchez with his inability to get the curveball over. Boy, he just really had an outburst here. And just watch Sanchez. Let's go. He's just berating himself.
So St. Clair tries to refocus him. He's got the pitcher Dickey coming up with the bases loaded and 2 out. We were talking earlier about the fact that R.A.'s been swinging the bat well. In his last 10 games, he has 7 hits. In his first 16 games this year, he had 1 hit. So it's been going much better for R.A., who's a lifetime .228 hitter, which is not too shabby by pitcher standards.
And you see R.A. choking up in that bat a good 2 inches. Like Nellie Fox almost.
Well, he puts it in play. Doesn't strike out very often.
There you go. That's a serious choke up right there. And I agree. When you're a pitcher, you don't hit once every 5th day.
Better slider by Sanchez that time. Bay is at third. Tolley at second and Turner at first with 2 down.
A little better slider, yes, Gare, but also a ball. He still has not thrown it for a strike. Is not throwing it for a strike.
This will be the 30th pitch of the inning from Sanchez. And Dickey down swinging to end the inning. But the Mets add a run and lead it 2-0 after 3 in game 1 of the doubleheader. ball is placid now on the lake in Central Park. But that was churning pretty good early Sunday morning. Up to the minute Jets news is just a click away with insider info on Gang Green as they gear up for the 2011 season. Plus player profiles and exclusive video on Jets blog featured on SNY.TV, your online home of all things New York sports. We go to the fourth inning. Let's check out the AT&T trivia question. What two players have hit 30 home runs in a season for both the Mets and the Marlins? It's an interesting one to chew on. Kevin Burkhardt is away. Eamon McEnany is filling in. Let's check in with Eamon.
Well, guys, thankfully for the Mets players and coaches, the storm over the weekend was pretty much a non-event. You know, I spoke to David Wright, who grew up pretty much very close to the water in Virginia. His father still works in law enforcement down there, and they said, you know, just really a lot of flooding, no serious damage, no power outage, didn't have to deal with any catastrophes. Some local native New Yorkers, Pedro Beato and Mike Baxter, stayed at home in Queens to help their families, but pretty much nothing really serious. You know, last week there was some speculation that some of the guys might spend the weekend riding out the storm here at Citi Field, so at least they could take batting practice. Terry Collins said no one did that. So pretty much a non-event for the Mets over the weekend, but Terry Collins was asked if he evacuated because he was thinking about getting out of the area. He said, yeah, all the way into Manhattan. So luckily for the Mets players and coaches, everybody's safe and sound over the storm.
Most of the players are in and around the five boroughs, which certainly makes it a lot easier for them because, you know, really the city bore the least of the damage in the metropolitan area. 2-1 to Logan Morrison leading off in the fourth. And he pops one up. Easy for Tejada. One away. By the way, speaking of the aftermath of hurricane/tropical storm Irene, we hope to have Mayor Bloomberg with us in a little while. Mayor's in the neighborhood. I believe he's heading over to the first day of the U.S. Open across the street.
Well, I thought the mayor and his group did a wonderful job in preparation. You can never take anything for granted, and hindsight's always 20/20.
Oh, I think they did absolutely the right thing.
Absolutely, no question.
But the moves they made were unprecedented. You know, mandatory evacuations, shutting down the subway system, had never been done before. And you know, had Irene turned into the full-scale disaster that she was threatening to be, that certainly would have been the prudent way of going about it. Stanton down swinging for the second time, and Dickey has Stanton shaking his head.
A high hard one, and it didn't really do anything but just run away from him. Stayed on the too much. You could see the ball, too much movement.
So 5 strikeouts now for Dickey, who struck out 4 in a row in the first and second inning, including Greg Dobbs. Dobbs has now started 79 games for the Marlins, which is certainly far more than they ever would have expected when the year began. Dobbs had a nice bounce back season after a dreadful year with the Phillies last year. But he's had over 320 at bats, and it's not what you expect from your prime pinch hitter. Little looper into center, and that'll fall for a hit. So a 2-out single for Dobbs, the third hit off Dickey. And now Gabby Sanchez, who went down looking his first time up. And Sanchez muscles one out to left center. Pagan easing over, side retired. Strong inning for R.A. Dickey. 4 scoreless for him and a 2-0 lead for the Mets. Remember, all Mets games on SNY are available in HD, presented by IOTV, and you can listen to every Mets game on Sports Radio 66 WFAN. Angel Pagan leads off. You might have noted on that schedule, next week the Mets go to Florida for 3 games, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And the last game of that series, there's been a time change. The Marlins were gracious enough to move that game from a 7 o'clock start, as Pagan hits it foul, to a 5 o'clock start, because the Mets now have a doubleheader at home the next day against the Braves. So Mets asked the Marlins if they could move that starting time in that Wednesday game on the 7th to an earlier start.
And where is that date?
Right, the 7th, right there.
I'm just so slow.
You were going to tell us straight.
I was going to put the spotlight on the circle. My big chance to put the.
Maybe they'll give you another chance.
The circle spotlight on.
2 balls and a strike to Pagan. Okay, try
7.
now. There you go.
Oh,
very nice.
Isn't that sweet?
That's great.
Thank you.
So anyway, so that's a change in the start time, and the Mets are very appreciative of the Marlins doing that. So the Mets don't get home at an ungodly hour for the doubleheader the next day. Nice pickup by Bonifacio and the 360 move to get Pagan 1 away. Of course, that'll be the last game the Mets ever play at Sun Life Stadium, and it would be perfectly appropriate, you know, if they move the starting time to 5 and then there's a 2-hour rain delay.
Oh well. Why don't they do a 1 o'clock game?
I don't think the Marlins wanted to do that. 1 out. Here's Ruben Tejada, who grounded to second and lined to short 0 for 2. Anibal Sanchez just looking for an easy inning. Those have been hard to come by for him. Even though he's given up only 2 runs, he had quite a path to get there in both the second and the third. Mets have left 7 runners on base over the first 3 innings. Of course, the Mets lead the world in runners left on base this year. That's what happens when you have a team that has a high on base percentage. And the Mets are second in the league in that category, and a low home run total. Mets are 12th in home runs. You tend to leave people on base. A ball and 2 strikes to Tejada.
There's another breaking ball way in the dirt, way bad.
David Wright waiting on deck. And Tejada lead on the fastball. 3rd strikeout for Anibal Sanchez.
Fastball away. Little cut on it.
So 2 out and nobody on. Sanchez with a chance for his first 1-2-3 inning as David Wright steps in. David has singled to center and taken a call. 3rd strike, 1 for 2. And the curveball sits high, one of the few curves that Sanchez has thrown today. So giving Wright a little different look, 3rd time around the batting order. And another one. So he throws back-to-back curveballs after not featuring that pitch at all.
And David Wright is the victim here. Struck out, as you said, Garrett, on the only good curveball he threw. That was his last at bat. And now he gives David 2 more good ones.
Two and 2 now to David. Yeah, that's the hardest pitch Sanchez has thrown this afternoon, 94 miles an hour. Sanchez up over 80 pitches working in the 4th inning. And Wright pops one up. Infante calls as he retreats, and that retires the side. So Sanchez has his first 1-2-3 inning. R.A. Dickey back to the mound for the 5th, working with a 2-0 lead. Baseball on SNY is brought to you by Brooklyn Burger, the premium steakhouse burger and the official burger of the New York Mets. Be sure to visit Keith's Grill at Citi Field, located at the field level behind Section 132, to enjoy Keith Hernandez's favorite Brooklyn Burger.
And you get a Tootsie Pop with it, too.
Special added attraction. First pitch knuckleball in for a strike to Mike Cameron as we start the 5th inning. Cameron has one of the 3 hits for the Marlins off Dickey. They've all been singles. And the hard knuckleball down 1-1. It'll be Cameron, then John Buck and Anibal Sanchez, lower third of the order against Dickey in the 5th. So Dickey picking up today where Chris Capuano left off on Friday. Capuano with the best pitched game by a Met this year and the best game of his career. A 2-hit, 13 strikeout shutout of the Braves. And now Dickey has thrown 4 shutout innings on top of that. There's Chris. Out to right field, and Duda slides over. Cameron retired 1 out. For Capuano, the game that he pitched on Friday was really extraordinary when you consider that he did not walk a batter, struck out 13. The only Met pitcher other than Capuano Friday night to ever allow 2 hits or less, not walk a batter, and strike out that many hitters is Tom Seaver in his 1-hitter, his imperfect game against the Cubs in 1969. So Capuano, who has had kind of an up and down second half for the Mets, had a performance against a good team that really came out of nowhere. 1-1 to John Buck, and it earned him the Willie Harris pie in the face.
Well, it was whipped cream.
Yeah, why is it that other teams have gone to shaving cream? Line right to Turner for the second out. I mean, whipped cream seems to make a whole lot more sense.
Well, maybe it's because the players today, they're such sticklers on their diet that they don't want any temptations in the clubhouse.
Well, you don't want to be eating shaving cream. It's not very tasty.
Well, you can get off the diet and eat the whipped cream. It's full of sugar.
Folks back in the players' kitchen, Teresa and her gang, they've got a nice stock of everything the players need.
You can get sugarless, I believe, whipped cream too, though.
But does that have aspartame in it? You don't want that.
Whatever you say. Is it bad for you?
Anibal Sanchez takes it off the plate, and it's 1-1.
I don't know because I don't use whipped cream. I haven't had whipped cream in a long time.
Cool Whip?
No, never.
Fake whipped cream?
If you're gonna have whipped cream, you're gonna have
the real stuff, right?
Right.
The Ready Whip, the thing in the can with the squirt thing.
If you're gonna do a banana split, you're gonna do a banana split.
The slow knuckle ball bounced out to Tejada. Takes his time with the pitcher running and makes a bad throw. And Anibal Sanchez is safe at first base.
Well, just one of those inexplicable things. Routine. And just overthrows it. And usually the sure-handed and sure-throwing Tejada, you make that play 99 out of 100.
Yeah, he's had a few lapses. That's his 8th error at shortstop. I mean, he's had some really spectacular plays, but that's the kind of third out of the inning pitcher running situation that just kills you.
And referring back to Turner and Tejada in playing time, we had a chance to kind of watch Ruben play a lot of shortstop this year with Reyes hurt, and I'm a little concerned. I have a little bit of a question whether he's got enough range to play shortstop on a day-to-day basis, left and right.
Well, it's a question the Mets hope not to have to deal with. Obviously, they'd love to have Reyes back next year.
Correct.
But if he's not, certainly Tejada is the first option to replace him at short.
And we must remind the folks that Jose is going to start the second game of this doubleheader.
Good looking fastball for a strike from Dickey. 1-2 to Bonifacio, who was grounded out and walked. Reyes actually woke up this morning in Binghamton. He stayed there after playing his 3 rehab games. He was able to play there Saturday. They were not impacted by the hurricane at all. Far enough west that it was out of range. So he played his game Saturday night, and rather than drive back, in the hurricane and the aftermath, he decided to wait there till this morning. So he was not due into the ballpark till about 2 o'clock, a couple hours before the first game. One and two to Bonifacio. And he strikes out on the knuckleball. So Bonifacio, normally a switch hitter, chooses to bat right-handed. That doesn't work. 6 strikeouts for Dickey. 2-0 New York. Mets scratching out runs in the second and third. R.A. Dickey has done the rest. 5 scoreless innings, 6 strikeouts. And the Mets have themselves a 2-0 lead as we go to the bottom of the 5th. And pitchers have now thrown 16 consecutive scoreless innings going back to Wednesday afternoon in Philadelphia. Lucas Duda leads off in the bottom of the 5th against Anibal Sanchez. Duda's 2 for 2. Took an 0-2 pitch the other way for a base hit in the first, and then it'll fly ball that should have been caught and wasn't by Mike Stanton, who still has his sunglasses on his head. Strike 1. I just don't understand it. He's going out there inning after inning in the sun with his sunglasses on his hat.
Well, I wouldn't be, I'm not going to make such a big deal about it because I've seen it for the last 10 years.
But in this case, the first fly ball that was hit to him, he was using his glove for shade. And the second fly ball, he completely misjudged. You would think at some point you change the program. Duda tries to hold, but he went around 1 and 2.
Well, you'd always. You got your center fielder who's
a Gold Glover,
and the shadows are over his right shoulder. The sun is over his right shoulder, and you've got the right fielder out there who's basically looking right into the sun. So I'm not a great mathematician, but that figures that it should be reversed.
You're talking about like angles of refraction.
You're working on
optics,
advanced geometry
off the end of the bat, and that curls foul.
Or advanced algebra.
I don't know what heading that would come under, but all I know is if the sun's in your eyes, you should have your sunglasses on. Especially if they're sitting there right on top of your hat waiting for you to put them on.
But like I said, I've seen it so many times.
One and 2 to Duda with Bay and Evans to follow for the Mets in the bottom of the 5th. Mets are trying to do a couple of things today that they haven't done all year. One is win a game in a doubleheader. They've played 2 doubleheaders this year, been swept both times, 90 pitches already for Sanchez. And 2, beat the Marlins here at Citi Field. Marlins have played 4 games here this year and won them all. Due to keeping the at bat alive.
Well, clearly we are 3 days getting out of the month of August, and you've got 2 teams here that are playing it out, and the Mets have a lot more guys out there that are really playing to show the general manager what they can do, and the manager.
Another one hit the other way. This one snagged out of the air by Bonifacio, and Duda's retired for the first time today. And do you think that makes a difference this time of year if you have kids out there trying to prove themselves?
Well, yes, I do. Normally in September you wouldn't see a guy like Dobbs out there, a veteran, your backup player, playing at third base. Although we're not at the point yet where they have the September call-ups.
Jason Bay takes a strike. Although I have to say, with the way the Marlins have handled their personnel this year, they've got to be pretty worried no matter who they are. I mean, they've already sent the former Rookie of the Year Coughlin down to the minors, and he hasn't come back. They sent Morrison, a very promising player, to the minors despite a pretty decent level of production. So it would appear that they are keeping their players on their toes, even those who are somewhat established.
Well, I think it has a lot to do with Jack McKeon when he took over this ball club. You've got their all-star first baseman over there, Gabby Sanchez. There's 3 Sanchez's on this club. One's on the DL. But Gabby, just inexplicably, there's Jack, has just not hit the second half of the season. What a funny game, huh? I sound like Joaquin Anderhart.
Sanchez strikes out Bay. It's 4 strikeouts now for Anibal Sanchez.
And that's the Anibal Sanchez changeup. This is a great change right here. Good spot.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now Nick Evans. He had an infield hit to deep short in the second, then an even more fortunate hit in the third, a check swing grounder that just went past the pitcher. So an interesting 2 for 2 for Evans, who hits one pretty well the other way to right. Back goes Stanton, staggering on the track to make the catch. He has not had a pretty day out there, but at least he caught this one. That's 7 in a row retired by Anibal Sanchez after 5, 2-0 New York. There's a beautiful shot of Central Park.
There's all the softball diamonds down there.
Reservoir. Great running track. Kenny Albert, a rare weekend off. Just couldn't stay away. He was supposed to be here Saturday to do the game when Fox was supposed to broadcast it. But he stayed home.
So did our director. He got a rare weekend off, Mr. Webb.
Well, I think it was pretty rare for all of us when you think about it. Baseball is not conducive to weekends off. Infante smacks one down to David Wright. One out. And when you get weekends off in baseball? November.
That's right. All you can handle.
More than your wife can handle.
It is one extreme to the other, is it not? This sport.
The schedule, it absolutely is. It's 7 months of every day and then 5 months of no days.
Well, really, spring training is, to me, well, for the player, it's 7 months. For us, well, how many spring games do you do? 10?
Yeah, something like that.
Piece of cake, right? 31 days in March. Piece of cake.
Well, you also get, like pool time and beach time in spring training.
Day games, you're home for dinner, good family time. So, yeah. So it doesn't start for me until the season starts. Then it is a 6-month grind. And then you got 5 months where I don't know what to do with myself after a while.
If you want to come to my house, I can find some stuff for you to do.
You're not getting out. You'll be down in the Sunshine State.
Come plow my driveway. Left center, slicing away from Pagan, and he won't get there, and Morrison has an extra base hit. So Logan Morrison with a 1-out double. The first extra base hit off Dickey. Mike Stanton coming up. First, let's check in with Chris Carlin, who has a New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. Did you see that video with, at one point, Lincecum pitching to Reyes? Here's Mike Stanton tying run at the plate in a 2-0 game. Earlier today, they showed a Mets Classic on SNY, game from 2007, where the Mets beat Armando Benitez. Remember the balk to tie the game, and then Delgado hit a home run. Anyway, looking at that game, Lincecum pitched that game for the Giants. As Stanton lines a base hit, Morrison to third. He'll be held up there as Pagan gets it quickly in. And the Marlins have runners at first and third. So Stanton, after striking out his first 2 at bats, gets a base hit against Dickey. And now the tying runs are on base with 1 out. Anyway, Lincecum had short hair. I mean, very short hair. Barely under his, coming out from under his cap. And Reyes had just about a crew cut.
Reyes was extremely short.
My, how things change in 4 years.
Hey, couple Cy Youngs. Do anything you want.
Well, and apparently he has.
I remember Ted Simmons when I played with the Cardinals here. I remember Simba. We called him Simba, the lion's mane. That was his nickname. Had hair over down to his shoulders.
Well, here's Greg Dobbs with the tying runs on base. Dobbs has struck out and singled to center, 1 for 2. Dickey needed the double play ball, misses with the knuckleball for ball 1. Remember when Johnny Damon had the caveman look?
Yes.
It's changed. That misses inside, and so Dickey, who was sailing, all of a sudden gives up a double and a single, and he's behind Dobbs 2-0. Dobbs had a base hit his last time up, a single to center field. Morrison at third, Stanton at first with 1 out. First time today that the Marlins have had a runner past first base. And Dobbs takes the knuckleball for a strike.
See, I just felt that last base hit by Stanton that Morrison got a bad read. That ball wasn't hit hard. He should have scored in that ball. I know he doesn't run well, but it was just a real bad read.
2-1 from Dickey, and Dobbs lines it to right, and the runners get back. So 2 out.
And that's a rip right there. David way off the line, takes the hole away, and there you go. Now they may come away with no runs here, and that's because of a bad judgment on the bases. I know you're down 2-0, you'll be safety first, but that's a line drive. No one's going to catch that line drive up the middle. Come on.
Here's Gabby Sanchez. First and third and 2 out. He's struck out and flying to center, and he fouls one back. Sanchez, who has wreaked much havoc against the Mets, held in check so far today, and that's in keeping with the way his season has gone in the second half.
He looks all tight and bound up.
Career .376 hitter against the Mets coming into play today. That's second to Jeter all time. And a fly ball out to right center. Duda waiting. Side retired. So Dickey gets out of his first jam of the day. It's still 2-0 New York. Off for New York. Mets with a 2-0 lead. Tolley drove in the second run in a painful way, a fielder's choice, where he tumbled over the pitcher Anibal Sanchez, who was trying to cover at first base and missed the bag. It'll be Tolley, Turner, and Dickey, and for good measure, His Honor the Mayor of the City of New York, Michael Bloomberg, who is joining us in the booth. Mr. Mayor, how are you, sir?
Good. Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you here in the aftermath of hurricane/tropical storm Irene. How would you say the city is faring?
The city's doing well, and we're looking forward to the Mets winning 2 in a row tonight.
Fantastic. As Tolley gets a double.
I come into the booth and you see what happens right away.
Good luck. That's great fortune. This was certainly an unprecedented event in the history of the city in terms of the mandatory evacuations, in terms of the shutting down of the transit system. I'm interested in knowing how you got the information that you needed to make those decisions and how difficult those decisions were.
Well, you have to, number one, look at the forecast, which is not necessarily going to be right, but you have to make a decision. And as you get closer to the event, The precision of the forecast is better, but some things you have to make a decision a long time in advance. For example, we moved out of the low-lying areas something like 9,000 or 7,000 people who are in hospitals, in nursing homes, and seniors' homes. It's not easy to move them. A lot of them have special needs. And what we had to do was get the fire department in. We planned this. We practiced this. We know where to take them. And that was what we did all day Friday. Now, Friday was still a long ways before the hurricane, but you don't want to get to just before the hurricane and have to move people very quickly that don't move that easily. As we got closer, I decided that, look, it was just too likely to come. Better to be safe than sorry. Ask people in the low-lying areas to move. And when you ask, people don't really listen. So in the end, the mayor has to make a decision. You have the legal authority to mandate it. We're not going to go and enforce it of giving tickets if people don't move. But a mandated thing, people take more seriously.
And I think people certainly did. And did you feel as though the operation of moving people out and getting them back in worked as well as you had hoped it would?
Yeah, the pleasant thing was the storm wasn't quite as bad, but it came in a little bit quicker. So the MTA, which moved all of their equipment out of the low-lying areas where it would have been damaged, was able to spend the night getting them back to where they needed them to go. And then this morning, I took the subway downtown, and it was working fine.
Your Honor, you've been mayor for such a long time, and you've had situations.
Seems like just a few days.
No, we're very happy to have you for this long time. Trust us. Of all the things that have happened in the course of your administration over the years, what are the things that you've learned, and are there things that you learned as far as communicating it to the public? A lot of people don't want to pay attention. They don't want to obey orders. Was there anything that you've learned over the years?
Number one, the workforce that is in this city, 330,000 people, they are smarter and more creative and more dedicated than I think anybody understands. This is a workforce that makes this city work, and when push comes to shove, we can have disagreements, but when the public needs something, they are there, whether it's on a volunteer basis or as part of their job. Number two, it's hard to get a message out. But the public wants this city to work. That's why you have good race relations. That's why you have low crime. Everybody understands we're all in this together. That's not true in other places, or at least in a lot of other places. And that's the great benefit that the city has going for it.
This is such a vast city with so many moving parts and so many people in a relatively small piece of land. When you're making a decision, any decision, how many voices are you hearing to give you the information that you need to finally make the executive decision?
Well, if you stop and wait to listen to everybody, you'll never get anything done. And it's also true, no matter what you try to do, there's some reason why you can't do it. You just at some point have to say, I hear you have these problems. This is what we're going to do. Make it work. And then you delegate down, and you have each commissioner and the deputy commissioners all the way down through the organizations. They're the ones that are on the ground, and they've got to figure out how to get over all the small problems. And you have to delegate a lot of authority to go along with responsibility. That's why good people come to work in the city, because you give them the authority to do something.
And now you've got the city back up and running today. You've got baseball here. You've got tennis across the street.
And the sun's out. Going to the tennis matches after this. Give a welcoming speech.
And in a couple of weeks, you've got a very special, emotional day coming up here, the 10th anniversary of 9/11.
And we're going to have the president, Governor of New Jersey, Governor of New York, and Mayor that were in office at the time of the terrible attack, 9/11/01, and then the President, the Governor of New Jersey, Governor of New York, and the Mayor who are in office right now. Those will be the people. They will read a little poem or a saying or a part of a speech that we've given them. It's non-political, and it's really designed to say to the families, we feel your pain, we can't be there with you in the sense of we didn't lose anybody, but we want to continue, keep this city going, and the purpose of the memorial is to give the families a place to grieve, but also to make sure that we teach our kids that our freedoms are fragile, and we're going to have to keep fighting for them. And unfortunately, I guess we're happy to have young men and women who are willing to put their lives on the line, but unfortunately, we do need them overseas. There are still people out there who want to take away our freedoms. Terrorism is a very real thing in this world.
And the memorial at Ground Zero came away unscathed during the
came away unscathed. Going to be on time, on budget. We still have to build the museum underground, which is going to take another year. There's still one corner of the memorial where the big path station is being built, and so that one corner isn't finished. But the two voids where the water's cascading down and then disappears and all the names are around it are there, going to be open. The trees, the grass, a place to reflect. And the most impressive thing is you got to go there at night, because the lights really sort of make you think even more, I think, than you do during the daytime. And the light coming through each of the names there, it's a great design by somebody who worked for New York City. It was one of 5,000 entrants, just entered the design and he won, and that's what we built. And I think this will be a phenomenally well-received memorial.
Did you sense any extra trepidation because with Irene coming in? I know the city has been through so much.
Well, Chris Ward, the executive director of the Port Authority, had them take a number of the cranes down, move them to places so that if they did fall over, they wouldn't do any damage. And the whole site went through without any problems whatsoever.
There you go. Your Honor, right there in the middle.
You can see the what I call the Freedom Tower, but now called One World Trade Center, going up. It's up to about 78 stories now and going up to 104.
You know, I want to go back to the preparation for the tropical storm/hurricane for just a moment, because, you know, in New York we're a tough bunch and we're used to a lot of things, but we're not used to hurricanes. Did that make that a special challenge for you and your people?
You know, New Yorkers are resilient and they get new things every day. That's one of the nice things about, and the diversity of the population. Big percentage of the population in New York City has lived in other parts of the world where they have big storms or earthquakes all the time or whatever. 40% of the people who live in New York City were born outside of America. It is a fascinating statistic. This is a city of immigrants, and that brings you knowledge, and it adds to our culture and our cuisine and just to the temperament of people and their willingness to accept new things. Nothing phases New Yorkers. You know, the press goes on and on about, this crisis, that crisis. Most New Yorkers get on with it. That's what's great about New York City.
And, Mr. Mayor, you're working your way through your third term. What do you see as your biggest challenge ahead?
It's making sure that we keep reducing our expenses, because we can't afford the pension system we have. We can't afford providing all the services we have unless we can keep the economy going. If you want to keep the economy going, you have to have taxes at a reasonably low level, because we're in competition with other cities in this country and, in fact, places around the world. We've got to make sure that we keep improving our school system and bringing down crime. Those are the things that get people to come here and stay here. And we have record population. This year we're going to have 50 million tourists come to this city. It's a staggering number. We have 95,000 hotel rooms in this city, and you can't get a deal on one of them. Every one is occupied, particularly this last weekend. You know, the vacancy rate is a very small percentage.
Did the storm have much of an impact in terms of tourism? And what was the status of those
tourists who wanted to come here couldn't get here, but tourists who were here couldn't leave. So, you know, one balances out the other. Somebody said, oh, the bars and restaurants, you know, people didn't go out to. Yes, but the package stores sold a lot of bottles, so, and the grocery stores sold food. So it sort of all balances out. It's over a long period of time that you have to look at the economy. And the reason the jobs are here is because immigrants keep us on our toes. And we, with immigrants, know how to compete with the rest of the world, something we've got to make sure happens. That continues to happen. This country has been closing its doors to immigrants. That's not good for the economy. It's not good for baseball, for example. Look at how many players now come from, in all major league sports, from places around the world. I mean, who would have thought, the Japanese players in baseball and Chinese players in basketball and soccer, obviously, from all over the world. It's hard to find an industry in New York or an entertainment venue, whatever, or a sports team, or a hospital, or a university where immigrants aren't key to their success.
Well, we've had an earthquake and a hurricane in the last.
Somebody today said to me things come in threes, and I couldn't figure out what the third was. Fire and brimstone, maybe, or something.
Well, we actually took a poll on Friday night what people feared the most: earthquake, hurricane, and tornado. And tornado won big time. So.
Tornadoes are pretty dangerous because they come very quickly and they're very, very concentrated, phenomenally powerful if you're directly under them. So you don't want a tornado. But, we'll have hurricanes. And one of the things that's worrisome is you look around this country, the environment is changing. You have a drought across the southern part of this country that's devastating the farming industry. And you have storms that we've never had before in a lot of parts of the country. So,
well, Your Honor, thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Thank you. I was counting on the Mets to score a couple runs while I was here with you, but they didn't do it.
Have fun across the street.
Thanks.
Enjoy the tournament.
Goodbye.
Great to see you.
Thanks for having
His Honor the Mayor, Michael Bloomberg. 2-0 Mets after 6. '69, he was known as the Glider. Ed Charles. What a really special man he is.
Played third base for those New York Metropolitans, part of that '69 championship team. Got him from the Royals, I believe.
He was late in his career. I think it was 35 that season, which was his last year in the major leagues. As Mike Cameron leads off in the 7th inning and gets the Marlins started with a base hit off Dickey. So Cameron has his second hit and 6 hits now for Florida. But Ed has been so much more than a baseball player to the Mets franchise. He is the Mets unofficial poet laureate.
Yes. And he writes wonderful poetry. And he's just really a class act. He's just a gentleman, just a lovely man.
And what better than seeing Ed Charles sitting in a ball game eating a hot dog?
He had a little sauerkraut in that dog, looked like.
I thought he had onions on there.
Oh, okay. Well, either one.
John Buck, the batter, is 0 for 2. A comebacker and a line drive to second base. Brian Peterson has come out on deck to be a pinch hitter. And Tim Burdack, the lefty, gets up in the Mets bullpen. Dickey worked out of his first jam in the 6th inning. Now the Marlins have the leadoff man on for the first time. And Buck can't find that knuckleball, and it's 0-2.
And we'll take a look at the IOTV pitch differential. Oh, there you go. He wants it down and away, and it's belt high outside, but up, and that's a big difference. Cameron's always been a belt high and up hitter.
And just misses to Buck, a ball and 2 strikes.
Well, the Marlins have left 6 men on base.
Line base hit. And so Buck, after falling behind in the count, gets a knuckleball he can handle, and the Marlins have back-to-back base hits to start the 7th.
Well, duck. Nice try.
Well, the Marlins had Brian Peterson on deck to pinch hit, but now in a bunting situation, they'll send up Alfredo Amezaga, whom they recently reacquired. So Amezaga will get the pinch hitting assignment here. Anibal Sanchez out after 6 innings, and with 117 pitches in those 6 innings and 7 hits allowed, somehow he managed to allow only 2 runs. We'll get a pinch runner here. Brett Hayes will run for John Buck. Hayes, the backup catcher, a little swifter than Buck, carrying the tying run at first base. The Marlins are carrying only a 4-man bench. They've got 13 pitchers. So using 2 of his bench players, Jack McKeon here in the 7th.
Jack, late in the ball game, is not afraid to use his roster.
So Dickey with another jam to pitch out of. Burdick ready in the bullpen. Looks like he's about to get some company down there. Amezaga up there. The Mets looking for the bunt. And the knuckler high and boxed around by Tolley. Ball 1. Cameron at second. Hayes the pinch runner at first with nobody out.
I've never liked on a bunt situation. Look at Turner right here. To me, he's giving up too much by being in so tight. I know he's got to get over there to cover, but I think if this guy can butcher boy and bring the bat back, it's almost like he's playing halfway, Gary, and conceding too much territory on the infield. It's up to him. I'd rather have him play deeper and shade more in the hole.
Amezaga pops up the bunt. Tolley can't quite get to it. Nice effort by Josh. Amezaga spent 4 years with the Marlins, 06 through 09. Started this year with Colorado. Let go and picked up by Florida. Emilio Bonifacio waiting on deck. Dickey up to 95 pitches. He threw only 82 in his last start, and that was 8 days ago. He will be pitching his next start on 3 days rest on Friday night in Washington. Pickoff try, and he got him. The reverse spin by Dickey, the soft toss right to the bag, and the tag gets Cameron.
Pretty good move right there. And that's a close play. And the fact that the reverse pivot there fooled Cameron. He got him all right.
Adrian Johnson, the second base umpire, was just waiting to see if Tejada held the ball. He did, and Cameron's out. That's a huge out for Dickey.
That is just a really difficult pivot for the pitcher to make that. It was hard to throw accurately, number one.
I don't think I've ever seen a guy pick somebody off with that kind of reverse pivot and throw.
Wouldn't even know what to call it. But boy, oh boy.
Because he had almost nothing on the ball, so he had to rely on getting right to the bag, which he did.
So he's basically just stepping off the rubber with his back foot and kind of twisting his body in a clockwise direction and then throwing it over there. That was a nice play.
Now he's behind on Amezaga, 3-1.
That's a veteran bout there that got picked off too, and Mike Cameron.
There's a strike. 3-2. Hayes the runner at first with 1 out, a very short lead. 3-2 with 1 out. And Dickey checks in on him. There's only about a half a step off the bat. Not going, and Amezaga hits it out to right. In comes Duda. He's there. 2 down. Duda doesn't have sunglasses in right field.
Well, it's the point now where he's in the shade almost. So,
of course,
the sun is on his face.
He hasn't had much trouble out there today. It's Stanton who has struggled. Of course, Duda got the benefit of that. His hit fell in front of Stanton. So here's Bonifacio with 2 out and a runner at first. Bonifacio continuing to bat right-handed against Dickey. He's got a better average right-handed than left. Slow ground ball. Tough play for Tejada against the speed of Bonifacio, and he gets him by a stride to end the inning. So Dickey, helped out by his unorthodox pickoff, now has thrown 7 scoreless. Access to exclusive New York sports content, including up-to-the-minute sports news and original video. Visit Facebook and like SNY today. New battery for the Marlins. Brett Hayes, who pinch ran, stays in the game behind the plate. And Bert Badenhop, who already has a game-winning hit in this ballpark this year, comes on to pitch.
Well, Badenhop, big, tall guy, not overpowering, big sinker. Kind of slings it up there. Not a bad year. More hits than innings pitched. Don't like to see that. Walks, decent, very good. And get you a strikeout too.
That's allowed the heart of the batting order against Badenhop, trying to stretch a 2-0 lead. Wright, Duda, and Bay coming up. David is 1 for 3 today. Single to center, struck out and popped up. Anibal Sanchez threw 117 pitches over 6 innings, gave up 7 hits and 4 walks, but only 2 runs. The Mets have left 9 runners on base over the first 6 innings. Had a golden chance in the last inning, first and second, nobody out, but Dickey bunted into a force play, and Sanchez retired the next 2. Wright is 0 for 7 against Bert Badenhop, and he fouls one off his leg, 1-1. To Wright, and he takes it up and away, 2-1. Bert Badenhop working for the Marlins. Jason Isringhausen getting ready in the Mets bullpen. Jason moved into a slightly earlier role now, getting ready to pitch the 8th. Broken bat liner right to Dobbs for the first down. And there goes the barrel, just coming to a halt over on the left side of the infield. Let's go back to our AT&T trivia question. We asked which two players have hit 30 home runs in a season as a Met and as a Marlin. And there's your answer. Carlos Delgado hit 38 home runs twice for the Mets in 06 and 08, and 33 for the Marlins in 05. Cliff Floyd only hit 30 home runs in a season twice in his career. Once as a Met in 05, 34, and once as a Marlin in 01, he hit 31. Here's Lucas Duda, 2 for 3, and retired the last time up on a liner to short. So Lucas has a 7-game hitting streak going. 11 for 25, 440 in those 7 games. It's up to 293 on the year. And after where he started, that is a wonderful number.
2 years in a row for Lucas off to horrible starts. And last year was just a horrific start. But he's persevered. He's got an opportunity to play every day, and he's showing what he can do.
Lined over short, base hit. And Duda has another 3-hit game, his second straight.
Well, Lucas has been using the whole field here. They're pitching him away now. And, you know, that's nothing you can do with that pitch. If you're standing away from the plate like he is, you can only go up the middle or take it to the other, to left center field. And he's been doing that.
So Duda just raging hot. And then on the other hand, there's Jason Bay. 0 for 2 today. 0 for his last 12. 2 for his last 40. I was reading an interview with Dave Hudgens today, talking about the number of changes that Bay has made this year, and that he just has got to settle on one approach and stop making so many changes.
Well, remember in spring training, Garrett, that Hudgens made some alterations and Bay submitted and gave it a shot and didn't like it, went back to his old way of swinging and had some success.
Dobbs with a running toss gets Bay for the second out as Duda moves up to second.
But you know what got you to the dance? You can't change your swing. You can change where you stand in the box. Yeah, to me, it's just such a snowball effect. He's like been buried by an avalanche emotionally. I think it's taking its toll.
I just wonder, going back to spring training, and I think you're right. He went back to what he had done before and was really swinging the bat well coming out of spring training. And then that last game, he pulled an oblique in batting practice in Florida and missed the first 3 weeks of the season. And you know, you hate to use that as an alibi, but you wonder whether things might have been different if he'd been able to come into the season healthy off, you know, a positive finish to the spring. But that's a man who's been searching for answers for a long time now.
Well, it's been 2 years and he hasn't found them, but I know that Met fans don't want to hear it, but I tell you what, I admire his approach to the game. I admire he runs everything out. He hasn't produced. It's not, but he just hustles everything down the line, does not let it affect his defense. I've seen a lot of players that struggle and they go out there and they can't catch a cold out there in the field. So it's just a shame.
Brett Hayes none the worse for wear after taking that foul ball off his mask. One and 2 to Evans, who's 2 for 3 on the day. He takes one well off the plate. Don't forget, this is game 1 of a doubleheader. Game 2 starts, well, it starts right after game 1. When else would it start? Dylan G goes in game 2. There are your city probables. Ricky Nolasco, who has had an up and down year, will pitch for Florida. And we'll be here for all of it. Evans pulls one foul.
This is our second old-fashioned doubleheader, right? Back to back, not day night.
I think it's our third. Isn't it? Yeah, we had the one in Atlanta. We had one here.
I missed that one. That's why.
And this is now the third. The Mets got swept in the first 2. Mets have not had a lot of luck in doubleheaders over the last few years. 2-2 to Evans, and he goes down swinging to end the inning. So Badenhop works around some trouble in the 7th. After 7, 2-0 New York. Doubleheader, plus all the latest team news and rumors on Mets blog presented by Verizon, featured on SNY.TV, your online home of all things New York sports.
And there's Jason Isringhausen, has not pitched since August 21st. That was back when the Milwaukee Brewers were in town. Became the 23rd reliever to reach 300 career saves. That was back against the Padres on the 15th of August. He is currently tied with Bruce Sutter, my old teammate and Hall of Famer, for 22nd on the all-time save list.
Well, Dickey comes out after 7 innings, and you might be wondering, well, why would you pull Dickey out? He threw just 100 pitches. He certainly could go deeper into the game. Well, the Mets are planning to bring Dickey back on 3 days rest on Friday in Washington, so I would imagine that has something to do with Terry Collins' decision. By the way, Met pitchers have now gone 23 consecutive innings without allowing an earned run. 18 scoreless innings, and the last run against them in Philadelphia was unearned. So 23 innings without an earned run. Isringhausen will try and keep that going. Omar Infante leads off. Well, the other piece of why you would take Dickey out is that Infante kills him. And here he is leading off in the 8th. Infante has a base hit today, 10 for 19 now against Dickey. Trying to bunt his way on and fouls it off. 1-1. Logan Morrison on deck, then Mike Stanton in the top of the 8th. We're talking about the Mets and double headers. Over the last 4 years, the Mets have had 13 double headers, either straight double headers or day-nighters. They have swept 1 of those 13 and been swept 5 times, split the other 7. The only doubleheader sweep in that stretch was against the Dodgers here in April of last year. I think that was a day-nighter, wasn't it? Here's the 2-1, and Infante fouls it off the end of the bat. Remember, we camped out here for a whole day at least once.
Yes. You wore a gown of gold, I believe.
I'm sorry?
I'm just doing a little Gigi here.
I remember it well. 2-2 from Isringhausen, and Infante pops one up. Tolley coming back, but he'll run out of room.
By the way, Gary, I didn't realize that. Very nice of you to have that barbecue for the SNY bunch on our off day. I didn't made the drive out there from the city. You got yourself quite a haul out there too, into the ballpark.
I think long commutes are something that we all have in common here.
I know that our director has a long one. Kevin has a long one.
I think Kevin has us all beat. That's what he gets for living on the beach. 2-2 from Izzy. Swing and a miss. He got him with the cutter. Isringhausen fans Infante, one down in the 8th. Let's check in with the studio. Chris Carlin standing by with the New York State Smokers quit line game break. G just looking to bounce back from a dreadful performance in Philadelphia his last time out. And with a little extra rest to do it. Here's Logan Morrison. Morrison doubled with 1 out in the 6th. Got to third base with 1 out. But then Dickey got a line drive off the bat of Dobbs and got Sanchez on a fly ball to work out of that jam. Got right back into trouble in the 7th. First and second, nobody out, but then picked Cameron off second base. There's the good curveball from Isringhausen, and it's 0-2 to Morrison. Fouled away. Mike Stanton on deck. Isringhausen would love to not face him as the tying run with his home run bat. And on Morrison, 0-2. And the curveball doesn't break. 1-2. That curve just missed. 2-2. Isringhausen with more than a week off since his last appearance as he winds down an unlikely season. 2-2. And that one skips to the backstop. 3-2.
Three straight breaking balls from Isringhausen. See if he features one here. You must think that Morrison's a fastball hitter.
He was ahead 0-2. Now it's 3-2. And he gets them. Back-to-back strikeouts for Isringhausen. 2 out of the inning.
Got him with a fastball outside corner, knee high. Wanted it in.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now he'll face Stanton with the bases empty,
which was key. Big strong Stanton with 30 home runs.
Stanton has struck out twice and singled to center, 1 for 3. What Mike Stanton has done this year is fairly historic. He's not yet 22 years old, and he reached 30 home runs before September. Only a handful of players have ever done that. 2 balls and no strikes. In fact, he's the 10th youngest player in history to reach 30 home runs. But he's not the youngest Marlin ever to do it. Miguel Cabrera was a little younger at age 21 than Stanton when he had 30 home runs with Florida back in 04. 2-1 to Stanton, but his power potential is just unlimited. He has hit some absolutely monstrous shots this year. Two and two now to Stanton. Greg Dobbs waiting on deck. Two. Curveball fouled at the plate. Izzy has struck out the first two batters in the inning. Stanton stays alive. th pitch of the inning upcoming. And one more for Stanton. Homered against Isringhausen earlier this season.
I always feel you got to kind of crowd him. Don't let him extend those big arms. You're making Isringhausen work for this one.
This will be the 8th pitch of the at-bat to Stanton.
Curveball, and he went around, strike 3. Isringhausen strikes out the side in the 8th inning. To the bottom of the 8th, 2-0 New York. NY is brought to you by Honda. Bob's Discount Furniture, proud to be the furniture store of the New York Mets. And by Cholula Hot Sauce. Want the perfect balance of flavor and heat? Add Cholula Hot Sauce to your next meal. Just look for the iconic wooden cap. Bobby Parnell, fresh off his first legit save as a closer. Getting ready for number 2. As the Mets bat in the bottom of the 8th, leading 2-0. 19 straight scoreless innings for the Mets staff, 24 innings without an earned run.
Tolley leads off against Bert Badenhop and takes high for ball one. Josh has walked and doubled and also drove in a run with a fielder's choice in the third. He's 1 for 2. And Badenhop falls behind him 2-0. Anibal Sanchez went the first 6 innings. He's on the hook. He allowed 2 runs and 7 hits. Worked around 4 walks today. There's a strike, 2-1. Justin Turner on deck, and then the pitcher's spot. And so Willie Harris has a bat and helmet in hand. 3-1 now to Tolley. Keep in mind the Mets need to make a player move before the second game to activate Jose Reyes, who is expected to be in the lineup and leading off for the first time in 3 weeks. Hit toward the hole. Nice backhand by Bonifacio. The set and throw low, but scooped out by Sanchez. And Tolley's retired. Nice play by Bonifacio.
Well, Bonifacio knew one thing. He knew his runner. Tolley doesn't run well. Had plenty of time on the backhand to plant and throw. Nice play.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Justin Turner has been on base 3 times in a row with a single and 2 walks. He drove in the first run of this game with a second inning single. Turner recently swapped out with Tejada. Tejada going to the 2-hole and Turner hitting 8th. It's worked out pretty well for Justin so far. There's Harris on deck to pinch hit. Promise he does have a batting average. And a check swing dribbler stays on the line. Fair ball. And Hayes throws out Turner. 2 out. Nice alertness by Brett Hayes, the catcher, to make sure he got that ball in fair territory. And now Willie Harris will be the pinch hitter. There's his batting average. Not as substantial as he'd like it to be, but better than all zeros.
Tough job, the pinch hitter.
Willie had a pinch hit single in his last at bat in Philadelphia on Wednesday. In fact, he had a hit the day before that as well. Batting with 2 out and nobody on, and he pulls one down to first. Gabby Sanchez will take it himself, and it's a 1-2-3 inning for Badenhop. Now the ball goes to Parnell for the 9th inning, looking for the save. 2-0 New York. York sports tonight. Jets and Giants over at the newly named MetLife Stadium. U.S. Open already has its first upset, and basketball news as well. Geico Sports Night tonight after the postgame, only on SNY. Bobby Parnell got his first save of the year Wednesday in Philly. He goes for number 2 today.
Well, Bob is going to be the man they're going to go to. September is all his. He's big chance here. He's going to be out there in every save situation.
Greg Dobbs, first man to face him. Dobbs 1 for 3, lined out to third his last time up, and he takes off the plate for ball 1. Dobbs, Sanchez, and Cameron, the 3 hitters due up against Parnell in the 9th. R.A. Dickey, 7 scoreless innings. Jason Isringhausen, with a week off, impressively struck out the side in the 8th. And now Parnell trying to pick up the baton here in the 9th for a Met pitching staff that now has 19 consecutive scoreless innings and 24 consecutive without allowing an earned run.
And boy, would R.A. love a W right now. He has his last win was back on July 25th at Cincinnati.
Well, today was Dickey's 7th consecutive quality start and his best among them, with 7 scoreless today. He's pitched far better than a 5-11 pitcher. 1-1 to Dobbs, and a good changeup by Parnell. 1-2. Now the 1-2 to Dobbs, pulled foul. One-two from Parnell. Line and caught by Wright. Second straight time that Dobbs is in a bullet and Wright has caught him.
Well, Wright's had around 4 shots in this game, 2 line drives and 3 hard hit ground balls, and has made all the plays. Taking that hole away.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Gabby Sanchez, who's 0 for 3, took a call, third strike, and flied out twice. And Parnell buries a fastball for a strike, 0-1. So rare to see the Mets putting the clamps on Sanchez. But that's how his second half has gone. Good slider. 0-2.
Well, Parnell's got his slider going on today. Threw a good one to Dobbs.
And Sanchez hits it straight away, hit well. Back goes Pagan to the track near the wall. It's out of here. Gabby Sanchez cuts the Mets lead in half. 17th home run of the year, and that breaks the shutout streak. It's now 2-1. Now the Mets have seen plenty of that from Gabby Sanchez. That was impressive.
High fastball right down the pipe.
Fourth home run allowed by Parnell this year. So now his task becomes more difficult. Mike Cameron, the batter, and he takes a strike. Well, Met pitchers have gone 19 consecutive scoreless innings. That's gone now. Now Parnell with a skinny 1-run lead. 1-1 to Cameron.
And we'll take a look at the IO pitch differential. Low and away. Oh boy. That's belt high right down the middle.
Cameron pops it up. Should be in play. Tolley coming back. 2 out. Brent Hayes, the final hope for the Marlins, with 2 out and nobody on. Don't forget, after Keith and I are done here, Bobby Ojeda and Chris Carlin will be along with Lincoln Postgame Live, take you between the games, get you ready for game number 2. Lincoln Postgame Live right after the game right here on SNY. Hayes batting for the first time, came on as a pinch runner in the 7th inning, stayed in behind the plate, hitting at .240 on the year. 2 out and nobody on. And Hayes takes a fastball for a strike.
So how critical is that blown double play that Sanchez did not cover first base and had the bad footwork over there? That's the difference in the ball game right now.
A call that Jack McKeon argued most vociferously, but that the umpires appeared to get right.
That was back in the 3rd inning. And those are the things, you know, they all add up. Jack doesn't look happy, does he?
Well, his team is 4-17 over the last 21 games. They're down to their final strike, and they've got another game to play today. And he's thinking, I'm 80 years old. I don't need this.
For him to come back, he's a baseball lifer, huh?
Well, second time the Marlins have brought him back in season. The first time they won the World Series. Not so much this year. Parnell trying to put on a bow. 1-2. Foul ball down to Chip Hale. Excuse me, to Joe Espada. Who finds a friend. Late base coaches always have to use 2 hands. Hayes rolls one out to the right side. Turner over, and the ball game is over. Bobby Parnell gives up a home run, but saves it for R.A. Dickey, and the Mets have their 3rd straight win as they take the opening game of the doubleheader 2-1.
Well, nice win for the Mets, and there's Jack talking with Philden Culbreth. That man right there earns his 6th victory of the year, and we said his first victory since July 25th. He's pitched so much better than his 6-11 record. Mets scored 1 run in the 2nd and 3rd inning. RBI is off the bat of Justin Turner and the Tolley fielder's choice. Both teams with 8 hits. Mets come out on top.
Dickey with his 6th win, his ERA down to 3.57. Your outing game summary. Mets win it 2-1. We'll come back with more from Citi Field in just a moment.